Welcome back, everybody. That is, of course, Lenny Kravitz with Let Love Rule. The iconic rock star has won multiple Grammys. He's a designer, an actor, a businessman, a family man. His life story is a fascinating one, and he's really opening up about it in his new memoir titled Let Love Rule. The one, the only Lenny Kravitz. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure. How are you?
I am well. So this is really a very personal book for you, one that actually ends before you get famous, really about the experiences of your early life and all the dichotomies growing up in both Brooklyn and Manhattan. Dad was white and Jewish, mom black and Christian. In one world, you were Lenny, the other, you were Eddie. You describe your mother as your heart, and of Dad, you write, I had to go through Dad to become me. When did you come to that realization, and what ultimately got you to that place?
You know, I didn't understand it so well growing up. I just knew that my father and I had a challenging relationship, and we were never really able to see eye to eye or to communicate in a way that I thought was constructive, you know. But we loved each other. But it's taken this journey really for me to be able to really understand this. I mean, in writing this book, I learned so much about my father because I was able to not look at him just as my father. I was able to back up and see him as a character on a page. And through that separation, I was able to look at him with different eyes and with a different heart. And I realized that he was doing the best he could with what he had, and he was trying to get through this life, you know, and have a family and raise me the best that he could. But he had lots of issues and his own demons that he had to work through. But so to answer your question, I'm always figuring this out. This is an ongoing relationship, and it's very interesting how even though people cannot be here on the planet with you, your relationship can continue to evolve.
Right. And your mother, Roxy, was an actress probably best known for her role Helen on The Jeffersons. Helen and Tom were the first interracial couple to appear regularly in prime time, as you know. You were born before the Supreme Court made interracial marriage legal. So navigating this was really a big part of how you grew up, like when a kid in grade school felt compelled to call you out for having a white father. Now, of course, mixed race kids are one of the fastest growing demographics. What was it like reflecting on some of those moments for this book? And what do you think that people can take away, or what would you hope that they might take away from your own experiences?
It's interesting because up until the time I was 6 years old, I had no idea that there was an issue regarding race. I grew up with every kind of person in our home, between the two sides of our parents, you know, the Russian Jewish side and the Afro-Caribbean Christian side. There was everything in between because my parents were artists in New York City in the late 60s and the early 70s. So I didn't know. And I went to school for first grade when I was 6. My parents walked me to school. My parents, I guess, were the only parents that didn't match that day walking in. And a kid jumped out and pointed his finger and said, your father's white and your mother's black, and made a big issue of it, and I didn't understand what that was all about. And my mother then began to speak to me about race and about society and how people view this. And but I grew up not having any understanding of racism. Very interesting where we are today in the world, where it is back in it is back in fashion. It's ridiculous. We're far more intelligent beings than this, and we need to get to that place where we can live with the differences and respect each other and love each other. And you know, that's what Let Love Rule is all about. As far as the message of the book and what people can take away, I mean, it's my personal story, but I think that, you know, what this book really is about a person finding their voice, their purpose, their path. And you know, I definitely learned growing up that even if there are many open doors, in front of you, it doesn't mean that you should walk through them. And so I think that anybody can relate to this as far as, you know, people realizing who they are, what their gifts are, and finding their way.
Of course, since the book is about your life, there's so much here for music lovers, and all your greatest influences are mentioned throughout. It weaves together the story of James Brown, the Jackson 5, Led Zeppelin, Prince, John Coltrane playing on your parents' date. And you talk about how music has been a sort of glue in your life. You write that jazz was the thing that kept your relationship from falling apart with your dad. Talk about the power of music in your life and how it became such a bonding point.
Yeah, music had been in our household since I was born, and I quickly realized that music was like oxygen for me. I couldn't live without it. We used to listen to records all the time. You know, my parents were very cool about taking me out with them. So where they could have left me home with the babysitter, they did take me out as much as they could, I guess, when it was appropriate. And I saw so many of the pioneers in the world of jazz, classical, pop, rock, funk, soul, you know, all of it, R&B, blues, and the turning point was when my father took me to see the Jackson 5 when I was 6 years old at Madison Square Garden, which was my first concert of that kind, and I knew from that night forward that music was my life. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how I was going to be involved, but I knew that I had to have music in my life. And then I wanted to express myself through music.
And we also learned in the book that you grew up here in New York with an apartment filled with records and a piano. You went on to write a lot of guitar-driven songs, but now you're getting back to your roots with pianos and even designing them. Tell us about how you ended up in that space.
Well, you know, I have a design company called Kravitz Design, and we've been working now for many years and doing all kinds of projects with different companies. And so this partnership with Steinway came about a couple of years ago. They asked me to design a piano for them, which I was so excited about, because wherever I can fuse music and design, it's always a great project for me. And so I designed a piano for them called the Kravitz Grand, which incorporates African sculpture, art, carvings, and also brutalism, along with deco. And that's been a dream project. I'm really happy with that. That just came out in this last couple of weeks.
Speaking about your potential upcoming projects, I mean, you mentioned earlier kind of this divisive time that we live in this country. And going back to 2011, you had an album that was called Black and White America. It's been described as Obama-era optimism. One of the lines, in fact, says, "Maybe we have finally found our common ground." Now, of course, that was in 2011. When you think about 2020 and the last few years, when you get back into the studio, what do you think that you're going to write about? What do you think you're going to be singing about?
The center is always love and unity. We need to make some very bold decisions right now about how we are going to go forward. With us as human beings, and how we're going to learn to live together on this planet that needs so much care, and our environment. And we need to wake up and we need to decide if we want life or not, because we are at that crossroad, and we are far more intelligent than we are letting on to. So it's all about love, and it's all about understanding and unity and figuring out how we can work together despite our differences.
Mr. Lenny Kravitz, we thank you so much for your time. I wish I had had the foresight to go and quarantine in the Bahamas ahead of time, but we really thank you for coming on the show.
Anytime, you're welcome.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.